Hello, thank you. My name is Lynn Boyet. I'm owner of CA Management in Seattle, Washington, and I'll be presenting this topic on governance for community associations. As board members, I want to go over the role and responsibilities, the basic duty and responsibilities for board members. As Duncan said, this is a basic overview of the responsibilities and duties for board members. Throughout the year, we have other classes that go in to each of the facets that I'm going to be talking about in a little bit more detail. But this is intended to get your feet wet, to give you an idea of exactly what basic role and responsibilities are for board members, and hopefully will give you some indication of things that you need to be aware of. The basic duty for board members, what I try to do is keep things simple and keep them in threes. I find makes it very simple to understand. The basic duties for board members are to protect, maintain, and enhance their community association, to protect it from and its corporate assets. I'll be getting into each of those three in a little bit more detail in a few more moments. Not only is good governance will result, I believe, into a good community, you're going to find that by following this will make your job so much easier once you understand the role and responsibilities, your basic duties for doing your job for your particular community. The primary responsibilities for a board member are, again, three. One is taking care of the governance of the community. That's the main topic of tonight's presentation, and I'll be getting into those governance features. Secondly is conducting the business of the association. The board of directors are responsible for the business functions of that community association. Not the treasurer, not the manager, not your bookkeeper. It's the board of directors that are responsible for the governance and the business of your community association. And thirdly, the most fun job that normally a board overlooks, and that's building community. I'm going to go over the first two, building business and conducting the governance of your association. Those two features, once you have those established and can delegate them to professionals in some aspect, then that leaves more for you as a board member to do what really is the fun part of being a board member, and that's building community. And again, I'll be getting into that in more detail in just a few moments. Okay, we're going to now talk about those three basic duties again. The basic duty to protect, maintain, and enhance the association and its corporate assets. Is everybody in here aware if your association is incorporated? Does anybody not know if your association is incorporated? Okay, good. Okay, I think Dan's going to probably talk a little bit more about that later. Secondly, the primary responsibilities, again, three, is to conduct the governance, the business, and building community for your particular association. Now, I'm going to start with those three of the basic duties of the association. Protection of an association. What are we talking about when I say protection of a community association? One, you need to understand the basic, the legal basis for your community association. That's the law and your governing documents. Second, you should be incorporated to protect your association, and apparently it appears that most all of you are incorporated. Third, understand the role and responsibilities of the board of directors. The committees that serve and help you in your duties, that's one of those outreach projects that can help you in doing some of your business and governance for your association. The owners, understanding what their role and responsibilities are. And professionals serving your association, managers, vendors that provide services to your association. Next, provide proper and reasonable insurance coverage for your association. To protect your association, you need to provide what is required by law and your governing documents and other reasonable protections to cover your association. Next, use a uniform and consistent method to resolve issues and problems. There is nothing more important than a board of directors to be consistent and uniform in dealing with all issues and problems in their community. If you start trying to change your methodology, you're going to find yourself caught up in problems and issues that you don't want to be involved with. The most important thing to remember in governance in your association is be consistent and uniform in resolving all issues and problems. We have a class that Duncan mentioned, the Essentials for Community Association Volunteer Leaders. In that class, we go over a particular program, in fact, a 5-step program that can be adopted by your association in resolving issues and problems. Next, establish and follow due process and rule enforcement. A very important step. Too often I find associations have rules and regulations, but they don't have a due process or fines to enforce them. It's important that you not only have rules, but you have the due process to be able to enforce them, and giving the opportunity for homeowners to give mitigating circumstances or to deny or in some way to defend the actions that they are taking. Next, establish financial investment policies, procedures, and getting an audit where it is required. Financial investment policies and procedures will go a long way in protecting your association. We'll have a CPA, Kathy Kuhn, will be talking a little bit more about that this evening. And lastly, document, document, document. This is a term that I've learned from Dan, who's going to be talking with us at the end of the presentation. As an attorney, he says, Lynn, remember I said to document, document, document. It's very important for board of directors to keep records, minutes, written documents on all their actions and activities. You don't want to get into he said, she said arguments, trying to document everything that you do. Your minutes need to be written. Any decisions of the board need to be written. If you're going to communicate permission to a homeowner to cut a tree down, to paint their deck, it needs to be in writing. You do not want to rely upon verbal, well, she said I could do this, or he said I could do that. You want to rely upon written documentation. Maintenance of an association. How does a board maintain their association? Follow industry standards and best practices. CAI, if you become a member, has bi-monthly publications, one by our chapter and secondly by national. There are online classes, there are websites to go to, there are classes that we teach on an ongoing basis on methods that you, the board, can employ to be able to properly maintain your association in the reasonable standards that other associations have found to be the best method for contracting services, how to engage contract vendors for your particular association. Secondly, maintaining your association is having a budget. That's that fiscal statement that a board of directors needs to adopt once a year, once your fiscal year, calendar year, that states in fiscal terms what you, the board of directors, have decided as major projects and ways to maintain your community association. That's all stated in your budget. Reserve study. Reserve study is not only a requirement of the law now, it also helps in your declaration, more than likely, requires you as a board to reserve for those capital improvement items in the future to repair or replace those common elements that are responsibility of you, the board, in maintaining your association. Next, maintenance schedule. This is something that many associations fail to do. They just go on historical knowledge, or suddenly dawns upon them that, oh my goodness, we probably need to clean our gutters. We're getting complaints of gutters overflowing, windows being dirty, streets are dirty. The city's contacted us. We need to service our fire extinguishers. By maintaining a maintenance schedule, this way there's no real hidden surprises for you, your manager, or your maintenance staff, and knowing when and where and who you want to do the regular maintenance in your association. Things can be prepared for in advance. For example, if you're planning to have 1 window washing a year or 2 window washings a year. If you have it in the maintenance schedule, then your maintenance crew, your manager, or committee, or whoever is responsible for that task can see that it's on the schedule, and they need to start getting bids or contacting the vendor that you have chosen to make sure that they're in line, that there isn't going to be a surprise that you had intended to have the windows washed in April, and now you contacted them 3 days before that, and the vendor is booked up for another 2 months. So having a maintenance schedule, everyone knows when things are to be done in your community. And secondly, I'll tell you, it's a real good tool to use in maintaining your budget or in preparation of your budget. Once you have a budget, it should be relied upon on a maintenance schedule. The one line item in there on building maintenance and repairs. Homeowners will oftentimes say, well, my goodness, that seems like a lot of money, X dollars for repair and maintenance of our buildings, common elements. What all is included in that? Well, if you have a maintenance schedule, then that can break down further all those tasks that you are planning for your community over that particular year, so that it gives you and that homeowner a better indication of exactly what's planned and what those costs are that makes you derive that number for that figure. Contracting with professionals. Okay, that is one way to maintain your association properly and to also protect it. If you use the neighbor next door or your barber's best friend to do maintenance repairs, you may find yourself in need of contacting Dan or your other attorneys, your insurance agent, Duncan, because now all of a sudden someone has slipped and fell, someone is suing you because you didn't pay them, there was a misunderstanding of what work was to be done and how much was to be paid. So you want to make sure that you maintain your association using professionals, written contracts to not only maintain but also to protect your association. Enhancing your association. Avoid deferred maintenance. This is something oftentimes your reserve specialist can point out to you, and real estate agents are very good at walking through and can say why the market value of your units are where they are, why units are not selling. Could be an indication of deferred maintenance and repairs in your particular association. Understanding the concept of capital improvements. You know, I've oftentimes seen board members with great intentions deciding that, you know, I just went to the home show and they have a great new metal roof that's guaranteed for 60 years. And so when we do our composition roof replacement, we should go with a metal roof. Well, you need to understand that in your declaration, most of your declarations will define capital improvements, changing from like to some other product. Changing from composition to a metal roof would be a capital improvement. It requires particular permission of your homeowners. So even though you have good intentions and you really believe that doing a maintenance or replacement in your particular association may help enhance it, it may trigger what's called a capital improvement, and that's oftentimes a section in your declaration that's overlooked, and that is the definition and the dollar figures that requirements for homeowner vote, requirements for doing a capital improvement, changing from like to some other product. I have an association with the Cobblestone Road. The declarant, the developer, developed this with a European accent in mind, and the board decided, well, you know, it's going to cost too much to replace that cobblestone street, let's just go with an asphalt. Well, then I had to remind that board, well, remember, that's a capital improvement. It's going to require permission of the homeowners. Because the board's intention was to keep and minimize the cost for the replacement of that road. But all it takes is one or two homeowners to say, you know, why did you do that? I bought in here because of this atmosphere created by the developer having a cobblestone road, and now you've asphalted it. Or board members with great intentions say, you know, our biggest line item on our budget is that pool maintenance. No one ever swims in it except units 603 and 707, so let's just fill it in and make it a garden. Well, that's a capital improvement and probably triggers a requirement of your homeowners to alter that to some other use. So make sure, even though you have good intentions, to do the best for your association, but that capital improvement item can oftentimes come back and haunt you. Adopt reasonable rules and regulations to achieve harmony in your community. Rules and regulations are not there to punish your homeowners. Rules and regulations are used to bring harmony in your community association. There is a need and expectation of all the homeowners in your community to comply with certain behavioral issues and problems. Those that don't comply with the behaviors that are expected in your community, there is a rule and regulation for that. That is the primary reason. It's not there to punish people or because you're having a problem with building 6 or unit 203 is causing a particular problem, so let's get a rule adopted to combat that, you do rules and regulations with an expectation that every homeowner should have in your community to meet the vision and mission of your community by enhancing with the authority of your declaration and the laws to have a reasonable standard of behavior, of expectation of all the homeowners and guests in your particular community. Good governance provides good leadership, is a result of good leadership. Board members need to practice good leadership by showing that they have transparency in what they are doing. A good illustration of that is not having open board meetings. It is very easy for volunteer boards to say, well, let's all have a meeting tonight, everyone's available, so you just have an impromptu board meeting. What you want to do as a board member in good leadership is to have open meetings where homeowners are invited to observe the actions of the board. That keeps you as board members on your toes to make sure that you are doing things properly for your association. It's too easy to get into a rut that, well, let's just meet next week and let's decide on what we're going to do about Unit 203. Rather, you should have your board meetings and where you are observed by your homeowners so that they have confidence and understand that the board isn't meeting in secret to plot against them. The board is meeting to actually conduct the governance and business of their community association. So having that transparency, allowing homeowners to see, having regular board meetings so that they know when you are meeting so that homeowners can meet and see, it keeps you on your toes in conducting your business as leaders of your community. And secondly, it instills a little bit of confidence in your homeowners, your stakeholders, that you are doing the right thing for your association. Yes, ma'am?
Question I have on the transparency, does that include documents such as, or the minutes, should those be published?
Good question. The lady asked if those minutes are in transparency of governance, whether or not the minutes and documents should be made available to all the homeowners. Absolutely, that's part of transparency. Your declaration probably requires a way for your homeowners to look at the documents of your association. The minutes, that's part of that open meetings. Homeowners may not always be able to attend those board meetings, but if there are minutes made available to them, then they can see what is being conducted by the board, can see what decisions are being made, and they have a better confidence of what's going on. Don't hide the minutes from the homeowners. Let them know exactly what's going on in your community. Document what actions are taken by the board so that the homeowners knows what's going on. If a homeowner wants to see the financial reports, if they want to see minutes of 6 months ago, make those available. Secretary, through your manager, have those records available. You want to have the homeowners feel comfortable that the board isn't trying to hide or sneak around and doing things behind their backs. Very good question. Adopt a board manual and book of resolutions. Folks, I'm telling you, your job and the job of the board members in the future will be much easier if you now undertake a project that may take 6 months, but that's adopt a board manual. The board manual will give role and responsibilities for each officer, what the board is, the role and responsibilities for the board, whether you have any standing committees, the method that you use for adopting your budget, ratification, or board adoption. It should go into the vision and mission of your community, the most important thing of all. If you don't have strategic meetings once a year to talk about where have we been this last year and where do we plan to go in the future, that's part of that vision and mission statement that your board should be adopting. One of the things I tell my boards is in your rules and regulations and any resolution that you adopt at a board meeting, the letterhead for that always should be the vision, mission of your community. What is it? What's the aim? Is this resolution the action that the board is now taking, whether it be a rule or a resolution, is it to achieve the vision, mission for your particular community? Or are you just doing a rule because Unit 203 has been bugging you to do something, and so tonight you're going to take an action? The rule or a resolution of the board should be to achieve part of the vision, mission of your community, not to appease 1 or 2 homeowners in your association or self-dealing on any of the board members. So keeping in mind what the purpose, the role and responsibilities of the board is, what the mission and vision is for your community, is having it in a hardbound board manual, something that you can pass on to each board member each year, which would also include the governing documents for your association, minutes. Those are things that should be in that board manual. Book of resolutions, yes ma'am.
I have a question about the board manual. How is it different from our bylaws?
Good question. The lady asks, how does the board manual differ from bylaws? The bylaws is part of your governing documents. The bylaws usually are the administrative functions of the board, what meetings, what the quorum is for meetings. It tells you how much notice is to be given. Bylaws go over the administrative requirements of your particular community association. A board manual is the tool that the board uses to understand what their role and responsibilities are to make it easier to comply with the bylaws and the declaration for their community association. So the bylaws is part of the governing documents that our attorney Dan is going to be talking about. Board manual is something that a board adopts to have volunteer boards understand more fully and more detail of what their responsibilities are in accordance with the bylaws and the declarations. Good question also. The Book of Resolutions. The Book of Resolutions are those formal resolutions adopted by the board, and one formal resolution that every board always adopts and doesn't realize that it's in their Book of Resolutions, and that's their house rules or rules and regulations. That's the formal resolution that a board adopts, and like any governing document or a resolution, administrative resolution, you need the assistance of an attorney, because there's nothing worse than, again, a board having good intentions and deciding, you know, our community would be a lot better off if we prohibited smoking in our community. Or we get rid of all the tenants, no more rentals. So we'll just make a rule to enhance our community, right? Well, your attorney will probably advise you that you didn't have the authority to do that. So a book of resolutions, the primary resolution that a board adopts is administrative rule called your house rules or rules and regulations. And as part of your governing documents, the declaration, bylaws, rules, and regulations of your community association, those need to be authored and or at least endorsed by an attorney that focuses on community associations. Association business, taking care of the business for your community association. Adopt policies for administrative operations. One other book of resolutions, one other resolution that should be adopted is a collection policy resolution. In today's economic climate in particular, it's very important for boards and managers to understand what the policy is for the board in regards to delinquent accounts. Having the board, again, remember doing everything consistently and uniformly, having a resolution concerning the collection of delinquent accounts is very important to avoid treating one homeowner differently and having uniform collection procedures. And there's no better way than having a written collection policy resolution. Policies in regards to investing of your funds. I know our CPA, Kathy, will be talking a little bit more about that, but a policy in regards to how you invest your funds. I just recently took over an association and they had their funding with a firm, stock brokerage firm, that I think was a particular friend of one of the board members, and I pointed out to them a couple things. One is there was a fee charged with that maintenance of the account, of that particular funds. Secondly, it was not insured by FDIC insurance. And thirdly is they were only getting a 0.1% return. And they had, this was a settlement money they had received from a construction defect litigation. They had on deposit, had just deposited in this account $1.6 million at 0.1% interest. So making sure that you have policies in regards to investing your funds, where it's to go, these are important things to conduct proper business for your association. Research as necessary to understand proposed board recommendations and resolutions. A common mistake boards make in bad governance is going to a board meeting and someone making a motion. I move that we put Scott's Weed and Feed on all of our lots, our property. Well, what's the reason? Is there a need? Okay, without research, and now the board has to make a decision. You should not be making decisions on an impromptu basis, going to a board meeting cold, someone making a motion to do something, and then everyone is expected to make a motion, or a vote. Okay, a board member needs to deliberate and understand fully the consequences before they vote on a resolution. There should be resolutions made, recommendations by a committee or a board member, then that gives an opportunity and some rationale for that recommendation. And so then the board has a chance to research, to study it, ask questions, to be able to come to a board to make a vote or to announce some of the research they have done to maybe perhaps require additional study and to bring it up at the next board meeting, or to assign it to a committee or some other decision or action to be taken, rather than making a motion and then expecting the board, well, it sounds good to me, okay, I'll go along with it. So that doing business in a proper way is very important for board members. Adopt standard association service and construction contract forms. A very important step. We just had a presentation on that subject at CA Day. Having a standard contract, what I'm talking about is to avoid those service contracts that are presented to you by vendors that propose to do service for you. Examples are the window washer, someone that's going to come in and going to repair, reseed the land behind buildings 6 and 7, whatever it is, and they give you a proposal, and then at the bottom you are assigned to accept it. Okay, you want to avoid those types of contracts. You should incorporate that contract into a standard association contract that would include that contract, but it protects the association because your standard contract written by an association attorney would provide for provisions that you may forget about, and that is the vendor shall not use the dumpster to get rid of their garbage. The vendor is not to start work before 8 o'clock in the morning. The vendor shall not work on Saturdays and Sundays, shall not work beyond 6 o'clock at night. These are things that all of a sudden you sign an acceptance and find out that they're out there throwing garbage into your dumpster and filling it up, and there was no prohibition against that in the contract. Also, they may say, well, this is, we want to get this job done in 3 days because we have other jobs to do, so we're going to start at 6 o'clock and we're going to work until 8 o'clock at night. This may raise a little bit of havoc in your community. So having a standard contract with some basic parameters, some certain benchmarks that your association has adopted with expectations that they be licensed, bonded, insured, they comply with certain rules of your association, in particular not using the dumpster. Parking is another one. Well, folks, you want me to do the landscaping, so our trucks are in here. And we didn't know where to park. So having where they are to park, all those kinds of things that aren't thought of until after the problems are created, you're better off being proactive and having a standard contract to include all of those little aspects that should be protection and to do the right business for your association. Yes, ma'am.
Is a sample of this type of contract available for, boards to incorporate?
The question is there a standard contract or template that is available? I'm not aware of a standard template. I believe there is a gap, a report that CA puts out that has certain parameters, certain provisions that should be in a contract, and we do have classes that go over the important parts to a contract, which should be included. But I think you'll find, and our attorney friends would probably echo my sentiments in that contract should be specific to your particular association, because every association is going to have a little bit of differences. We can tell you the particular items that need to be in there, but to address the concerns for your particular association, I would really strongly urge you to consult with your association attorney. Didn't like that answer?
That's what our.
I'm asking for a template,
Right.
and then it could, a guideline template, and then you can incorporate your own board's needs, your own association's needs into it.
Okay, again, I would not recommend the boards doing that, because that's, again, I think Dan, Dan, would you please make note and address that when you, in your presentation? I know it's a hard pill to swallow, and I have boards that really grimace when I say we need to get an attorney to help us with that. But remember, what we're trying to do here is practice good leadership and good governance. And I'll tell you, acting as your own attorney is not good advice and is not practicing good leadership. It's a one-time deal. It's a one-time contract. The templates that they do have available, as I say, they will go over the things that are needed in a contract, but the specifics, and the board should not then say, okay, these are the basics of a contract, now I'm going to fill it in. Again, that's just like rules and regulations. We can tell you should cover things regarding people, pets, and parking. But then, okay, then the board takes it and they address those needs. Again, you need to take that final project or your wants and desires to an attorney to help them develop the wording, the verbiage for that particular rules or in a contract.
For like, we need to do a contract for gutter cleaning, we need to do a contract for landscaping. There's.
Okay, what, right, and what she's asking, well, we have a contract for gutter cleaning, we have a contract for window cleaning, why should we have to go to an attorney each time? Is that what your concern is? See, I'm saying that no, you only need one service contract for your association. You'll get a proposal from a vendor, from your window washer or for your gutter cleaner, and it will say on there, we're going to do your gutter cleaning and for X amount of dollars, and we'll do it in 3 days. Sign here. Well, what I'm saying is take that proposal for gutter cleaning, window cleaning, for trash removal or anything, and put it in, to bring out of the drawer that contract that your attorney proposes and add it as an attachment to it. That your master contract that your attorney helped prepare for you that has all the parameters will say basically you are going to do the work that you propose, but if there's anything different that is in here, this supersedes it. Our master contract supersedes anything that you say, and we are requiring you to have insurance and bonding and blah, 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 and don't empty garbage in our dumpster, and that's going to apply to your gutter cleaner, to your window cleaner, to any other vendor. So what I'm saying is all you need is that one contract, then those proposals you get that's acceptable to you, you make that part of that master contract.
So you just began using the phrase master contract, which maybe I'm thinking of as a template, you know what I'm saying?
Right, all right, I understand. So yes, my master contract is the template contract for your association, and you need an attorney to prepare that one master template contract. Okay, all right, good, I'm glad.